Hi, it's Catalina here, April 17th. I have some really good news for public service loan forgiveness applicants, those who work for nonprofit government agencies that are trying to qualify for loan forgiveness, have several exciting updates. I was going to send news out when I heard what the Undersecretary for the Department of Ed stated, but it was a mistake. And I had a bunch of questions. We had a bunch of questions come in. What happens if we're married filing separate? Is it true that they're taking away the opportunity to file taxes separately and not count your spouse's income? I am going to talk about that and much more in this video. So, just a quick summary, I'm going to talk about marriage filing separate, and I'm going to talk about public service loan forgiveness updates, as well as what's happening with the save, forbearance, and pause. Okay. I'm not going to make this video as much about what to do if you're trying to buy a home because I feel like I've made the last several videos about that. Instead, we're going to focus on some of the news around filing separate as well as public service loan forgiveness. I will, though, however, link the video if you are interested in learning what are the impacts in forbearance if you're trying to buy a home and some credit dings and other issues we've been talking about a lot lately since people have experienced a lot of credit drops. But there are videos, I will link them in the description or here so that you can view them if that is your most pressing topic. So let's dive in. First and foremost, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. The Undersecretary came out and said accidentally that if you're filing your income taxes separate, that you cannot exclude your spouse's income from your income-driven repayment application. And a lot of people panicked because they use that strategy, filing separate and not include their spouse's income into their student loan payment. In fact, we help people think about that strategy all the time. So if you're married and one or both of you have student loans, it's great to consider if that is advantageous to you. We are very well equipped to help borrowers do that. They announced that they will not allow for filing separate. However, that was a mistake. They did not say that. They said that they are going to allow the spouse to count in the family size. I guess it was like a misspeak. And they came out and created a new statement saying that that was a mistake. A lot of good news. People were very scared about what Trump and his administration meant for student loans. And I was telling people, don't panic, because at the end of the day, there are laws written. They can't just make up their own rules without it being challenged, right? So, for example, they try to stop income-driven enrollment. The American Federation of Teachers sued them and they opened it. Granted, things are moving a little slower, but so far that's been the biggest thing they've done. The good news for public servants that I've definitely read about is, number one, they are still allowing for public service loan forgiveness buyback. That means that if you've made 120 payments and file for forgiveness, that you can buy back the months in which you were not in repayment. If you pay your income-driven repayment amount, they will count those months and you qualify for forgiveness. That's news number one. Number two, that's great for public servants, is that in the months of forbearance, if you're forced to be on forbearance, even though you're enrolling into income-driven, the months that you're in forbearance will count towards public service loan forgiveness. Unfortunately, the months that people who are just in income-driven repayments and want 20 to 25-year forgiveness through income-driven repayment, the time will not count for them. Okay, so if you're a public servant, you're filing public service loan forgiveness applications, then the time you're not paying can get counted. You need to make sure they're getting counted. There's a tracker on studentaid.gov. If you don't know about the tracker or need to learn more or want to submit documentation your servicer asking for an updated payment count, all that good stuff, which, by the way, it's not to your servicer anymore, it's to the Department of Ed, which is now understaffed, but we can help help you find it and or gather docs if you do not have all your payments counted, okay? Number one. If you are trying to get loan forgiveness through an income-driven repayment forgiveness, I would still make sure you're tracking the paid payments in terms of forgiveness, because we have learned we can't always count on somebody else to track it for us because they're not tracking it properly and then there's miscount. So it's always good as a borrower, you yourself, to track it, okay? So those are the major two updates for public service loan forgiveness. That is great. That there is definitely still buyback. and the time in forbearance is going to count towards loan forgiveness. Lastly, we sent out a newsletter and a blog last week to all of our student loan borrower followers on the timeline of recertification into income-driven plans. If you do not see that, we're going to link it below. But essentially, the Department of Ed came out and said that if you're on Save for Forbearance, you should be getting an update sometime in May of this year on what's going to happen with that. They are encouraging people to enroll themselves into another income-driven plan, especially if you're a public servant and want your time to count towards public service. We definitely recommend that route. In order to maximize the number of payments you're making and to finish paying and just file your application for loan forgiveness, right? So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So again, people ask us all the time, I'm in Save Pause, should I get into repayment again? If you're trying to get your loans forgiven sooner rather than later and you're near the end, paying and getting this time counted is more valuable than not paying, because unless you want to defer it for later, but we never know what's going to happen. You might get a great offer to go work for some private company in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever your time is, that you want to have that freedom to take. You don't want to say, well, I'm 6 months away from getting PSLF, I can't take this job, right? It's always better, in my opinion, to get as much counted today than to wait, hoping that tomorrow will still be counted, you know? So my philosophy is that if you are a public servant trying to get PSLF and you're working for a qualified employer today, it's better to get in a plan and get those months counted than to sit there and just relying on a buyback strategy. Because as far as I know, buyback is not legislated, and like income-based repayment is legislated. So that may be taken away. Like I know the Trump administration right now and the current Department of Ed is allowing PSLF buyback because of so many months of pause for the SAVE lawsuit, but that may not exist forever. So pay your loans now while you can, okay? That is my most important advice. I am very bad at asking people to follow, like this content, subscribe if you are a student loan borrower trying to get out of debt. If you find this content helpful, I know my content isn't theatrical. I don't have great backgrounds. I don't have the best equipment, but this is general. This is my heart tells me I need to create these updates to help borrowers better manage the stress of their student loans. I'm not going to be the most entertaining content you'll ever watch, but I will bring valuable, real time updates. And I try to respond to me or somebody from Loan Sense tries to respond to every comment and question ever asked. So please post them and tell me. I'm going to do my first real estate 1031 exchange, which is where I sell a house and buy another house. If people are interested in content like that around real estate, let me know. I did a little content around house hacking, buying a tiny house. If you want content around that, let me know as well. If you're getting bored of student loan content, I'm here to support you on your journey to get out of debt and achieve whatever your next financial goals are. For me, it was buying a house. Now I own multiple, and I'm excited to share all my learnings. So I'm actually thinking about starting another channel just on real estate investing and just going from debt to acquiring real estate now. So let me know. Happy to answer questions. Again, myloansense.com. Our team is available to help you, and you can get an absolutely free plan today. myloansense.com. Thanks.